The special meeting of the Annapolis City Council on Monday, February 24th, 2020 will be called to order at 7 p.m. At this time, would everyone willing and able, please stand for the invocation given by Alderman Gay, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Mayor, before we get started, I was wondering if I might have the floor for just a moment. I am hoping that the council and the people here can have a moment of silence for the passing of one of our favorites, Lynn Berman, who passed away. I believe it was on Friday, it might have been Thursday, but I think it was Friday last week. Lynn is a resident, longtime resident of Ward 2 in Admiral Heights. We recognized him for his efforts in behalf of the city over a lengthy period of time at a meeting, our meeting in December. He most recently was a longtime chairman of the City Liquor Board, but he had had other positions with the city over the years. And in the community itself, he was very active. He was an outstanding businessman, very charitable, just an all-around wonderful, wonderful guy. He died at the age of 93. I don't have a lot of details. He was buried, I believe, yesterday, might have been today. Lynn, the honor was truly ours, not yours, and we're so glad that we got to recognize you back in December. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Awesome. For those that are willing to, please bow your head and close your eyes for prayer. God, we thank you for the opportunity to join in the chambers today, Lord God. We ask that you bless our minds as elected leaders, Lord God, and give us the guidance and the strength necessary to carry through actions on behalf of our residents. We ask that you also bless our residents, God, as they go through hard times, and that you continue to guide them and protect them and give them the strength necessary to move throughout life. We thank you for this opportunity to join together and make effective change in our city. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be here. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Here.
Alderwoman Tierney? Here. Alderman Payon?
Here.
Alderwoman Pendell Charles?
Here.
Alderwoman Finlayson? Alderman Rodriguez? Alderman Gay?
Here.
Alderman Savage?
Present.
Alderman Arnett?
Present.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the first item of the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended to add R-19-20, Affordable Housing Task Force on first reader, and O-5-20, City Council Meetings Order of Business on first reader. Could I get a motion for that, please?
Second.
So moved.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the next item is petitions, reports, and communications, beginning with an update from the mayor.
So good evening, everyone. I want to first start out by thanking everyone for the well wishes for my family following the passing of my mother, Pauline. Jules and I, along with our boys, can't tell you how much it has meant to us to receive your kind words and notes and flowers. I know this city has a real heart, and we have felt and received the love you have offered to us during this difficult time. So I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to thank Alderwoman Pendell Charles. She stepped up to juggle her full-time job and the job of acting mayor. Alderwoman, it gave me tremendous peace of mind while I was away and worried about so many other things. So thank you. You'll also notice tonight we are missing Alderwoman Sheila Finlayson, who is at home recovering from knee surgery. We all wish her a very speedy recovery. I'm sure she's watching, so get well soon, Sheila. Thank you. I'd like to take a few moments to correct the record about how the City of Annapolis handles requests for inspections of not only housing authority properties, but any licensed rental unit in the city. In the paper today, there was a story about a family that contacted the city for inspection of their unit that had been previously inspected last fall and had passed after remediation. The resident called on February the 6th at a little after 2 in the afternoon. Our ombudsman immediately phoned inspectors in planning and zoning. She was informed it was too late for an inspection on that day. It was on Thursday, but they said they'd get to it on Friday, February 7th. The inspection took place on Friday. They found that they needed to follow up a mold inspection. They called ServPro, who came out to do air quality sampling on Monday. That takes 24 hours, and the results were returned on Tuesday. On Tuesday, the unit was taken offline, and the family relocated. I want to tell this story to showcase that from the first phone call to the inspection was less than 24 hours. We had a weekend in there, but the family was relocated after 3 business days from the original call to our office. I take this seriously. Housing authority properties are not owned by the City of Annapolis. We rely on those residents and residents of any licensed rental unit in the city to contact us when there is a problem. I'm asking housing authority residents to call the Hacker office, central office. If they don't get a response, please call our office, even if your unit was recently inspected. Sometimes the unit can develop a problem, or sometimes the remediation of the problem doesn't permanently resolve it. So please call us and we will respond. Thank you. Director Kevin Simmons of our Office of Emergency Management wanted me to mention that our open house on February the 8th that was attended by groups of members of the community, and there was 50 or so visitors, got a tour of the facility and an overview of the roles and responsibilities of the Office of Emergency Management, as well as a demonstration of the technology and capabilities of the Emergency Operations Centre. The attendees also got to participate in a simulated exercise where they assumed roles of mayor and city manager, public safety chiefs, and other Annapolis officials to experience the decision-making process during an emergency, disaster, or crisis. Thank you, Director Simmons, for showcasing how seriously Annapolis takes public safety. And lastly, there will be a reception for the dedication of the police station in the name of our city's first African-American Annapolis Police Chief, Joe Johnson, on February 27th at Banker Douglas Museum. There will be a ribbon cutting for the sign at the police station on Taylor Ave, followed immediately by the reception at the Banker Douglas Museum. This is an RSVP only event, so please respond to my office at 410-263-7997. I'll say that again, 410-263-7997. If you plan on attending, we would love to see as many people there as possible. It's a historic moment. And you will get details from the office once you call. Thank you, everybody, and let's get on with tonight's meeting. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is city manager required administrative submittals.
Okay, good evening. The December monthly status report has been distributed. And we've also had 4 budget transfers. The first was for finance to transfer from contract services to supplies and capital outlay so they could buy some new chairs, office chairs, and a piece of office equipment. The second is MIT transferred from capital outlay to supplies and others so that they could get training and get their annual certification / membership. The next 2 are for the same item. They're for the new wood flooring in the dance studio at Pitt Moyer Rec Center, Public Works, facilities maintenance, and Rec and Park are sharing the costs for that. So Public Works is moving $9,000 from engineering contract services And Rec and Park is moving from parks, repair and maintenance to the Pip Moyer, $10,000, so a total of $19,000 for that project. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Gay had a question, I think.
Just had a, what, it says here, supplies and other, $3,000 for a chair?
Desk. It's Teresa's desk.
Somebody's chair or desk, that's $3,000.
No, how many chairs is that?
We don't know if to buy a folder.
Jody can
I'll
explain.
explain.
That's her department.
Yeah. So the $3,000, if you notice, there's supply money. It goes into supplies and others, and that is for some training that we're going to do.
Oh, I
Yes.
see here, okay.
The second line item is for the capital outlay, and we don't know, we're going to try to buy chairs. We don't know how many yet. Ours are in pretty bad shape, but we need a folding machine because ours is broken now. So we're going to buy the folding machine first and then decide how many chairs we can replace this year. Okay?
Alderman Tierney?
Yes, Mr. Jarrell, the dance floor, is DPW, they're going to install it? I thought that was kind of neat, if that's,
No, that's actually a contract, so. had to
oh,
get low
okay, so you
bids,
just
and that's
handle the
low
contract. I
bid.
didn't know if your labor crew was
Yeah.
installing the dance
No,
floor, and I wanted to
no.
give you some credit. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is reports by committees.
Any committee reports? Good for today?
So we had,
Alderman Gay?
oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, yeah.
Sure.
Our last Housing and Human Welfare Committee meeting was Tuesday, February the 18th. We had a chance to talk with Bridget McLaughlin, the Director of Resident Services, Marianne Turner, Sarah Clark, all representatives from HACA on the different services that they plan to roll out for youth and adults over the course of the next year, and just try to get a better understanding of which direction that was going into. And our next meeting will be Monday, March the 16th at 3:00 p.m.
Thank you. Alderman Pion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Audit Committee did not meet today. We had agreed at our last meeting that we would try to meet every other month. Our next meeting is March the 16th. It will be held at the Pip Moyer Recreation Center, and it'll be at 8 o'clock in the morning. We have a number of items that we are going forward on and looking, well, I'm awaiting that date with great anticipation and hopefully some good discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Pendle Charles?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be held on next Monday, March 2nd at 4 p.m. here in council chambers.
Anybody else? Okay, Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is comments by the general public. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes.
During comments by the general public, you may speak on items not scheduled for public hearing tonight. Legislation scheduled for public hearing is 06-20 Planned Development Public Housing Bulk Standards, 0-720 Designated Loading Zones, and 0-9-20 Comprehensive Bag Reduction. So the first person lined up to speak today is Abigail Goff. Is that right, sir? Angel? Oh, no. Angel? Sorry. Right.
Greetings and good evening, everyone. My name is Angel Goff.
Please press your green button on the microphone and speak into the microphone, please.
Greetings and good evening, everyone. Is that better? Okay.
Don't hit the front. Okay. Technically, we want to capture every word, so
Exactly.
gotta be careful.
My name
And
is
there's a guy in a
Angel
little room
Goff.
over here with headphones on, so every time you do that, he goes, wow.
Okay. I'm a 2-year resident tenant of Bay Ridge Gardens and elected president resident council. I'm here to represent and speak on behalf of all of the tenants who have numerous issues and concerns. You'll see here with me today are a number of residents who have come together to get unwarranted issues resolved. This is a predominantly black community. We are fighting for justice in some terms and looking for clarity. We are being faced with inequalities, discrimination, disrespect, lack of common courtesy, and poor living conditions. Residents have had illegal eviction notices placed on their doors. New management has, quote, lost, unquote, and thrown away given paperwork, requested for certification, and are not utilizing an open door policy to address the issues. There are numerous discrepancies in current rent rates, outstanding balances, and incorrect recertification calculations. We understand that there has been several changes in command with new property owners and management. Over the course of the last 7 to 10 years, there has been over 20 assigned managers. The new property manager, Annette Anderson, assistant manager, Vicki Williams, have all displayed rude, condescending, and plain candidness, and we are questioning why they still hold positions at this property. Ms. Anderson has issued illegal eviction notices from her office and are not coming from the court or the sheriff's office. Our trash was not picked up last week for 2 weeks because management had failed to pay the refuge company on time. Corporate manager Elizabeth Valcos has verbally expressed that the residents here at Bay Ridge Gardens act like inmates living in an insane asylum. This has been considered affordable housing with numerous stipulations in the standard of residency. We have brought to the attention of HUD, corporate, and the owners of this property at Rose Community some grossly issues with mold in the units that have been covered over with paint and not completely correcting the source. Maintenance calls are not being passed on to the technicians, and residents have questioned them about the work. I have witnessed management receive a call that there was a ceiling pouring down with water, and management just sat there and did nothing. An active gas leak was witnessed by HUD, and management did absolutely nothing. Some units have roaches, mice, and some are seeing rats due to management being lazy and not getting the units and property treated as it once was on a weekly basis due to so-called transition that has been going on since last October. Negligence and opposition with management is at hand, deterring our structure by not following the rules and regulations. The lack of continuity has caused physical and mental illness from these problems that are needing to be addressed from a medical standpoint for some due to mold. Ms. Church and myself are two mothers here today who have been directly affected by the increase in gun violence that put us at all. Safety is definitely a #1 issue as well. There have been 3 unresolved cases within the past year that has gone unwarranted for resolve. We hope that the new security company that started today will do more than observe and report, which is what the previous security has done.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's over 3 minutes now.
Okay.
So, Alderman Gay, do you have some questions at all or not?
I don't. I'd like to.
So we would definitely, we've been there a lot. We've had a lot of meetings. We thought it was progressing. This sounds like something we've got to get on straight away. So, yeah.
I just wanted to give you the opportunity to first continue speaking, or whomever else was, because I think it's critical that we all hear this.
Just
I
got
think
2
you're going
more
to need a vote for
sentences.
that.
Sure, 2 more sentences. Great. Go ahead. Yeah.
In addition to the cameras reported to be working now more vividly with HD clarity, we hope a difference will be made by having security at the beginning entrance as it was 6 years ago. Observe entry to the back gate being locked at certain times will also help. We need more deliverable circumstantial changes. It is a must for us residents who have come forward to you, the mayor, elected officials, and Annapolis City Police to step up and reveal applications for change to be completed. We demand action on all measures with management, finances, pest control, security, and the crumbling infrastructure and architecture to take place immediately.
So it's private property, but we are going to, Alderman Gay, I think we need a community meeting soon, so. Yeah.
I just wanted to. First, if we could get your remarks to Kia so that all of us can have a copy of what you just put out. And then secondly, if what you were mentioning community meeting or something?
I think that was, I'm not sure, let's look up when we had the last one, but we've done walkthroughs with all the department heads in that. We solved the exterior problems. I think all that was addressed. But
yeah, but you know, to her point in what she's speaking about, to be quite frank, the property management is ridiculous. I mean, I'm an older person who's scheduled a meeting to handle constituent responses, and I get there and the property office is closed. It's Wednesday at noon. I go back 2 hours later, it's still closed. You know, I make phone calls to the property management on behalf of my residents, just hoping to get information. It's unbelievable how they, one, speak to you, and two, how they ignore the request. And if that continues in the property, I don't know what current laws are in place that would allow us as elected officials or the city or whomever to handle something like that. How do you handle a negligent property management?
Well, I think this is probably an executive session topic, given the litigation that's going on.
But this isn't HACA, though. This is a private property. This isn't HACA.
Oh, okay, it's not included in HACA.
No, okay. Alderman Savage.
But I think to the city attorney's point, we could put this on a work session, or housing committee could actually subpoena the folks from the housing development, even if it's private, to get them to come.
And would you be able to speak to any existing fines that we could, outside of the fines for like property defects and things like that? But is there any way that you can? I mean, if our residents are attempting to get through and handle business and they're not being received well, how do we go through with that? I'll give you another example that that was not pointed to, but I had two constituents, who went to the rental office. They had peace orders filed against them. The court threw it out because there was no basis to it, and they were still then given letters of eviction, which in my opinion looks like retaliation. And there has to be, I guess, some legal process in place to assist our residents as they go through this. As she said, she's been going through it the last year. And since I've been elected, in just this short months, they've had 3 different property managers. So I don't know how we...
Thank you.
There is a process, and we can discuss it. I think the municipal violation system is a way to get at it. Also, the properties have to be licensed. The Office of Law handles a fair amount of them. We need to know exactly the properties and addresses, and we can kind of backtrack to see whether we have continuing municipal violations in those properties.
Alderman Gay, what about Maryland being an at-will state? We have over 90 complaints about the new property manager. Why would she still be there?
Do you have, both paper complaints? This is now in person. We've had several community meetings since October, as Gavin mentioned to. I guess I'm just concerned about, like legally, where can they go? I mean, if you waking up with eviction notices on your door that aren't even, court ordered, they're just like, at this point, a phony eviction. How do you handle that and deal with that?
I can tell you, I'm putting on my lawyer's hat to some extent here, but you need to document each and every one of those: date, time, nature of the complaint, every one of them. I think that when you sit down with the city attorney, that he can be in a much better position to give you advice at that point. If there's anything you remember now, write down now. This happened on February 14th or whatever. Time, they put up an illegal eviction notice, that kind of thing. You need to do that, each and every one.
Thank you. Alderman Pendle Charles.
Thank you, Mr.
Alderman
Mayor.
Tierney.
As Alderman Gay indicated, we've been to several meetings for the past couple of months. And I know a couple of months ago, I distributed a form where folks could write down what the complaint was, the date. Have that been, because I think they were circulated at the last meeting.
Yeah, that was given on the 16th at the last meeting, the 13th at the last meeting, and probably more than 15 residents filled out a complaint. They were handed in to Alderman Gay to take directly to the city.
Okay. Well, there's what Alderman Payon was talking about, some of the documentation. What are the next steps?
We've got a couple of things we have to look at to determine whether or not there's a licensing issue, and figure that out. Because there may not be a licensing issue, but there may be. We just have to figure it out based on the address and what we've received previous to today.
Ms. Goff, do you have any additional ones since Alderman Gay collected those?
I think they have been forwarded to HUD directly.
Do you have any copies?
I do.
Okay. Alderman Gay, I guess we could have you take the additional ones that we've had over the past week and a half and forward them and take a look at those and see what can be done at this point. Because we do have the documentation that Alderman Payon indicated that we needed to have.
Alderman Tierney's next.
Yes, Angel, you mentioned that there's 3 unresolved cases for the Annapolis Police Department.
Correct.
What's the latest that you've heard about those?
It's still unresolved, still under investigation. One with Ms. Tiara Taylor,
Right.
Corey Johnson. Those are 2 murders, and my son, Omari Bell,
Right.
all under investigation. Nothing's being done about it.
So-
That's all they tell us. It's being
So
looked
can
upon.
we get that on record, Mr. City Attorney, to elevate that to the police department? The 3 unresolved cases. And is Rose Community Management still the same management company? Is it-
Rose is the current management company that was bought out by Wynn.
And the project managers are hired by them?
Exactly.
Thank you.
The property owner is Tom Moran, and he's in New York and Michigan. He's well aware of everything that's going on. He's been to our property. He's actually walked into Mrs. Parker's property, who has inhabitable living conditions. She's living with mold, water damage. She should be in a hotel. She should not have her children in her house right now as we speak, dealing with respiratory problems due to black mold.
So if those issues come up, if you could notify the city so that we can send our housing inspectors out to look, the mayor was talking about that during his remarks. We take fast action on those health and safety type issues. So if you could notify us, the city, of those, we'll have a housing inspector go out and take action almost immediately.
Okay, because you have been contacted.
Thank you.
Contact again
We will follow up again to make sure that somebody goes out and looks at those.
at all the properties. It's not just one, it's probably 50.
Yeah, it would be helpful if you could kind of narrow the field a little bit so we can tackle the worst ones first.
Okay.
Alderman Gay's next.
Yeah, just quickly to the point that we made an official request, I believe, sometime this weekend to HUD to get those documents, the electronic version of everything that was submitted to them. It had to go through a longer process than usual. They just couldn't shoot it to us in an email. So we're following up with that. But to the point of Ms. Parker's residence, we have sent, and I think this is where we maybe have to look at redoing our inspection process, or just getting a better understanding of what is actually done in the inspection. We've made the request to Ms. Parker's residence since like October. I think maybe it was her first call to me, and then another one a couple months later. And I think that, and this is where I think we start to get into again what is required in our inspections, and how do we respond to the property management, because we give them the 30 days to respond to anything that they've been cited on. And I feel like oftentimes it may just be as we know now, a paint over or a just, quick patch up or something like that. And it's not cutting it anymore. Because people still have to deal with these ridiculous living conditions. I mean, she has 2 units like this. This is not just 1 unit, it's 2 on the same property. So it's frustrating. And I think that's why everybody is just putting so much emotion behind this, because it seems as if the wheels aren't moving, you know?
They're not. It's been going on for about 5 years now. Longer than that.
She's home suffering from everything that's going on. All the paperwork she said.
We can have someone reach out to you in the city tomorrow, okay? If you give your number to somebody, I'll make sure somebody comes to your place tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, Angel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more question, Angel. Sorry, Alderman Pendle-Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You mentioned 3 homicides. I think it's Tierra Taylor.
Correct.
Oh, and I can't, gentleman's name.
Corey Johnson.
What's the name?
Corey Johnson.
Right. And what was your son again?
Omari Samad Abdul Belt.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Omari Samad Abdul Belt.
Okay. I know Detective Stan Branford is now being a part of the police department's cold case. He's handling the cold case. Have you had an opportunity to talk to Detective Branford?
I have not had a chance to speak out to him. I was speaking out to Chief Jackson.
Chief Jackson.
And 6 detectives in regards to my case. Since I identified the shooter, saw who shot my son, identified the shooter at the police station, I was told that was not enough evidence to present an arrest warrant. And I have to walk past this person every day.
How do you spell your son's first name?
Omari.
Okay. I've got your email address. I'll contact Detective Bradford. Okay. Have him talk to you about that.
Okay.
As well as the other 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Tony Strong Pratt.
Good afternoon. Tony Strong Pratt, 32 Juliana Circle East, Annapolis. I'm here to talk about the environmental injustices in your housing developments in Annapolis. I continuously hear that it's not the city's problem, but this is the state's capital. When we have environmental issues, West Street, downtown, we jump directly on it. We have residents on the majority of your Hacker properties and your subsidized housing properties living in mold. I know when we have mold as homeowners, we have to get it remediated ourselves. But when we live under a renter, it is their responsibilities to remediate mold. When it doesn't get done from Hacker properties, we reach out to the city to do an inspection. Inspections have been done through the city and deemed licensed, and the properties that were licensed still are suffering with mold. There is a problem. We have evictions about to take place. Yes, we have to hold the residents accountable for not paying their rent, but we also have to hold the property managers accountable for calculating that rent correctly. We have a problem at the sheriff's office that I've personally addressed with the city council, with the county council's office about service of those eviction notices. A lot of the residents weren't getting their eviction notices. I have pictures where eviction notices have been taped on banisters, have been taped to the side of the buildings, and yet the properties are getting judgments for evictions. We have a problem, and it's not just the Hackers' problem, it's not just the subsidized owners' problem, it's our problem. This would like to be the deep, dark secret of our city, but no more is it the deep, dark city. We want it to be addressed. We want the environmental issues that are just as important downtown and on West Street to be just as important at Newtown, at Eastport, at Harbor House, at Robinwood. I don't want to have 2 o'clock in the morning to get another call to say, my baby's sick, I have mold everywhere. I'm sick and tired of posting pictures. I'm sick and tired of trying to work with the city, with HACA, with all the other leaders, and still nothing is being done. Does somebody have to die before we actually do something? I live in a nice house. I don't have mold. I don't have a reason but the people to go to these different places and help to be a voice for them. We need your help. Each and every one who's sitting up there, who we, the people, have elected, we need your help. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Thank you. Reverend Colbert is next.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and officers of the City Council. I would like for the residents of Beveridge Gardens to stand, please. My name is Reverend Samuel Jerry Colbert, pastor of John Wesley United Methodist Church, 2114 Beveridge Avenue. I'm also a member of the Street Corner Coalition, and we adopted Beveridge Gardens. And the purpose of adopting this community was to help to improve on better living conditions. No one should have to live in mold. No one should have to live with leaky water pipes. There was a gas leak the day that HUB was on the property. It was reported, and the rental office did absolutely nothing. HUB had to call BGE herself and have them turn off the gas. The managers treat these residents worse than I treat my four-legged animal. They go in and they are kicked out, and they are either pressured and with an illegal eviction notice, or the security is sent to their door, or a maintenance person is sent to their door to ask them what was said. HUB told us and told them to take their cell phones, record, and take pictures. They were threatened not to bring their cell phones into the rental office. So yes, we are here, and we will come back again and again until we get some direction from the city, some type of salutations and pressure put on Rose community until we get some answers. And that's why I'm here tonight. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up is Gary Jobson. I don't see him. Oh, there you go. Hold on. Reverend Colbert, do you want to come back 1 second? Alderman Pendle-Charles.
I just want to, before we leave tonight, I want to have some direction. I hear Mr. Gerald say that tomorrow they will be looking at the 50, I believe. We're going to prioritize them, he indicated, but we're going to look at all 50. The young lady in the front indicates she has documentation. Alderman Gay has documentation that we're going to talk to the city attorney about. That's the direction that I see in next steps. Have I missed anything? Okay. Within the next, what's today, Monday? Alderman Gay says Friday. We're going to have some substantial results. Tell me if I'm wrong.
We appreciate that, and we will hold everyone accountable to those words. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Jerry, and everyone else. Oh, and I'm supposed to check with Detective Bradford.
But no, I'm glad that the residents were able to, after the last meeting, hold us accountable, hold themselves accountable to being here. I know we discussed that this was important, and it's important for me, for all of my colleagues, to hear it from you guys so they can understand that whenever we come back with any, concerns or anything, it's not an exaggeration. Like, this is actually happening in 15 to 25 houses on one property. That's been neglected by the property management. So definitely by this Friday, we'll have some recommendations and action items so that we can figure out how to help you guys in this process. So thank you very much.
If I could just repeat one more time, we have an ombudsman in the mayor's office. So if you're starting to feel frustrated with management, please call her. Her name is Hillary Raftovich. She's at 410-263-7997, and she will make sure that she gets a response. Please.
Alderman Tierney.
Just real quickly, I didn't see Phyllis. Is Phyllis still there? Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I was worried.
We're holding her hostage.
Okay, Gary, next up, please. Hillary responds. I've never seen Hillary not respond, so I don't know. I've got to find out what that's about.
Well, Mr. Mayor, City Council, I have a topic to talk about, but I'm going to just take 1 minute and applaud all these people that step forward that need help. Mold is happening in our city because of the extraordinary amount of rain in our neighborhood. 1 block away, we had a house condemned just this past week because of the issue of mold. And clearly you hear the frustration, so I encourage you to do what you're doing and try and make this an urgent need on everybody, so please. So shifting gears, we have a request from a group that's invited the Yacht Maiden, which is a boat that 31 years ago, an all-women's team went around the world in the Whitbread Round the World race. And quite an extraordinary documentary was produced in April and made the short list for a documentary and Academy Award. And the boat is making a trip around the world, and there's 5 stops in the United States, and they would like to come to Annapolis roughly April 8th to 17th. And I think it's important to showcase Annapolis along with other places in the U.S. and inspire our young people that they can achieve great things in life like this crew of Maiden did. It'll be a positive attraction here on City Dock. It certainly will engage many boating, sailing, maritime groups in public activity. They're only going to be here for a short period of time, 9 days, and about 2/3 of that time they'll be on City Dock and 1/3 over Annapolis Yacht Club. So we're asking for a no fee for the visit for these people while they're here. Renee Mell and Frida Wildy are going to make some further comments. So I encourage the city to approve their visit and maybe mitigate the modest fee during their time. So thank you very much. And more importantly, please help these people. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Next up is Erica Pratt.
I'm Erica Pratt. My address is 17 Marks Court, Apartment D. I'm also here from the Bay Ridge community. They pretty much elaborated on a lot. Today, I had an incident myself. My mom was called for documentation, a paper that we needed for my file. They told my mom she couldn't come to the office to speak to them, even though she's listed on my paperwork as she can know everything that's going on within my agreement of my lease. So she told them that she would send me over. She sent me over today. I asked for the policy of what she said the policy changed. They couldn't present a policy change, so she then called security to escort me out. So I'm just here on behalf of the management team at Bay Ridge. Something has to be done. We're frustrated. We're tired. We feel uncomfortable to even go to our office to conduct ourselves as young people in the community. We fear because we don't know what's going to happen next. If we go, we can't even get our stuff done that needs to be in by a certain amount of time because we're not welcome there. So if that's just more to elaborate on.
Erica, sorry, I just have a question. Alderman Pendle Charles.
I have a question, might be kind of stupid, but why do you think they're doing this?
Because they don't have the policies to what they're saying is new policy, so they don't have the paperwork to conduct it. So instead of doing what they need to do, they rather just not deal with us at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Landis Harwell.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Landis Harwell, and I've been a Bay Ridge resident for almost 7 years. I kind of want to start this out with words that can be accredited to Albert Einstein when it says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. The people in our community are going crazy. We have for the past, ever since I've been there. I can't say it's all rose because there's been different management companies, but we've been under so many management companies and things have been so mismanaged. We are expecting different results with all the management companies that have come. We have received none. When I moved into Bay Ridge, I was told that I was going to move into a home that was in building 22. I was moved into 2 Benz Drive apartment E. My home had just been released from police custody because the former tenant had killed her child there. My home hadn't been inspected. My home wasn't painted until 30 days after I moved in. I didn't sign any inspection work, anything. My stove didn't work. It's just been a lot of things that have been going on over and over and over and over again. We've reached out to you all on different occasions. We've reached out to different management companies on different occasions. We've been reaching out to a lot of people. We've continuously been written off. I'm tired of being written off. I want this to be written about. I want y'all to start changing laws. I want y'all to start doing things that are going to hold these people accountable. Because right now they're looking at us. I work 40 plus hours a week sometimes. I will be darned if somebody tells me that I'm less than them because of where I live at. I work hard. I have children that have grown up. I'm not from Annapolis, but my younger kids have grown up here. There's so much crime in my neighborhood. I've seen so many kids that are desensitized to the violence that goes on because there are so many things that's going on. The kids just stand around. They have no fear of anything. So it's not only the management company, it's police presence. The police will sit right across the street at Mount Moriah, but won't come and do rounds in the community just as a deterrent. There are so many things that can be done past what we can do as residents. There's things that y'all need to see. Y'all come in the community when it's election time. Y'all hold barbecues. Y'all want to come see us when y'all want our votes. But now we're asking y'all for y'all help. We need y'all to address these situations. We need better living conditions. Just because we live in an income-based property, it does not mean that we hold less value than somebody who's paying full rent. We need programs that help us transition. I'm getting ready to move because I don't want to be where I'm at. I don't want to continue to raise my kids where they're living. But y'all need things in place to help other things occur. Y'all need ladders because it's not just where we live at. It's everything surrounding it. People do want more and people do want better.
Do you think we can talk to that state thing about? Right. Right. Okay. And they've got some leverage. Thank you. Next up is Wanda.
Good evening. My name is Wanda Parker. I don't know if I should say I'm a resident of 15A or 13B. I don't even know where I'm at right now. I'm angry. I'm irritated. I'm agitated. I'm frustrated, and I'm one concerned person. I shouldn't be here for none of you guys tonight. I have a 5-year-old daughter that's home suffering and been suffering every month since October. They knew, and they still put me there. Anything you need is right here. Any pictures you might need, any recordings you might need. I'm sorry, it's here. I live in a house right now. My daughter, she's homesick. She's 5 years old. I felt bad leaving her, and it's so bad that she asked me. I told her I was leaving. She said, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to take care of some stuff at the run office." She said, "Well, Miss Phyllis," I say, "No, trying to get her somewhere to live." She's 5 years old. She say, "Mommy, but when you come back, can you please bring a new home? I'm so tired." Poor little soul. I have doctor's note that my kids got mold spurs in their system. I took it to them, they did nothing. I have a whole list in this pack. I lived in 15A. I reported the mold situation. They kept telling me I didn't have it. I kept telling them, yes, I did. I went and took, I saved my money. I got 4 kids. I saved my money. I don't have no job, and I did my own test. Sure enough, I had mold. I proved it to them. They agreed to move me to 13B. I said, "Look, we're going to do this," which I have signed and dated. "We're not going to do that. You're not going to send me in 13B, and I just got a 15A with the mold. Okay, we can do this." They did it. But before they did it, the property manager at this time was Landex in Rose Community. I mean, not Rose Community, it was Landex. The property manager said, "Here's the key." He gave me the key. When he gave me the key in October of 2018, I walked into the apartment of 13B, and I had on boots just like that they were black. I opened the door, and nothing but feces came out on my feet, my shoes. And I said, "No, Lord, don't do this to me again. Now I can't move again." They got it all cleaned up, so they say. I went over there to finish looking at it. I kept smelling the smell. The smell was horrible. Every time you walk on the floor, I said, "Something not right here, still mold." I kept fighting. I wasn't giving up. I was tired of my kids being sick. I wasn't giving up. I said, "It's still mold in here." They agreed to do the test. Once again, lo and behold, it's mold in here. So here I am at 15A, still suffering with the kids, still being mentally going through it. And I'm 13A, get a remediation. In the middle of the remediation, I'm still moving stuff from 15A to 13B. They breaks up some of my furniture. This is Serpro. They paid for it, and then they told the company they didn't want them to finish their remediation. By this time, Rose Community took over. On October the 8th, Ms. Velko called me, and she told me that I was a squatter in 15A. And that I had to go to 13B or I would be evicted. And I said to her, "Ma'am, I got 4 kids and no baby daddy here. I'm doing this by myself." And she told me, and I have it recorded, she said, "Well, you need to call Miss Phyllis or ex and maintenance people, these people in this neighborhood. They can help you." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" She said, "Yes." I prayed on it. That was on the 8th. She gave me this packet. I went over and kept saying, "Please, you can't make me stay here." She gave me a packet of everything I needed to get done, which I am here for proof. On October the 8th, and she said I had to have it back by the 11th, which was my move-out day on that Friday. I gave her that I gave it to everybody at the rental office, all copies. I wasn't dumb. I got it stamped every time. Stamp. I'm not leaving until you stamp it. Nothing's never been done.
So Wanda, we're gonna.
I need help. That's all I'm asking.
We're coming tomorrow to help. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up is Robert Eads.
Good evening, Council Mayor and Council members, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start my 3 minutes, Mr. Mayor, as a friend, I offer my deepest sympathy for the loss of your loved one, your mom. But now you're the mayor. When you came to me and asked me to support you, you said you would bring drastic changes into the city of Annapolis. You would make everybody inclusive in the city of Annapolis. Does that look like we included? The native black Annapolitan will no longer come to you separated. Every community from this point on will come to you with each other's problem as one. That means each and every one of you, all the people, we coming at y'all as one. We're not coming as Newtown 20, Bay Ridge Gardens, because the joke is over with. All of these years, all of a sudden, they got to move people out of Newtown 20 because of this serious gas leak. Well, we all know what gas explosions do. They take out whole city blocks. So why is it just Newtown 20? What about the people up front? I play a real good game of checkers and I could see the move down the road. I knew what was going to happen, that the 15 people that they planned to move out tomorrow through leases that started when Mrs. What's the name? The previous director was there. Issues, Miss Wilburn, issues that weren't solved with tenants about their rent and everything. Now those same people are set to be evicted tomorrow. I saw the play coming because they want to move the people from Newtown 20 down in those houses, in those apartments. Housing Authority has been playing this game for a long time. It was a good speech that you gave about the lady with the 8 children. But all of y'all know, how long have I been coming down here complaining about these same issues? Not months, not weeks, but years. This ain't nothing new. If you want to help one person, you go down Newtown 20, you go down Robinwood, you got mold, infestation in all of these houses. We've been asking for help for years. Like Newtown, like Bay Ridge Garden, keep jumping the management around. Housing Authority doing the same thing. And they put new people in that don't know the real deal of what we've been fighting and talking about for years. But some of you older persons, y'all know what I'm talking about. This ain't new. I brought a suggestion to y'all and nobody, not one older person, even thought about when I said, go to HUD, tell them give y'all the money and turn all these public projects or public housing over to the city of Annapolis. We wouldn't have this problem if you get the money from HUD, and I know they would kick it out if you go to the right congressman, right Congress people. Take it over yourselves. You wouldn't have little children sick. You wouldn't have full-grown women sick. This is unacceptable as leaders of this city from each and every one of y'all who not going to step up and do something. Mr. Mayor, all the persons, I'm telling you, we are no longer single. In the 60s, this meant black power. And we gonna unite, and we coming at y'all, and we gotta go to DC and get the people there, bring the news people here to see what's going on, to the Native African American community in the city of Annapolis. We gonna do that, because we taught of our children. Which one of y'all want y'all children living in the conditions this lady talked about, or any other ones? Come on, tell me. Which one of y'all would trade places with us for a month to live in that condition? Raise a hand, just tell me. So why do you expect for us to live like this? Why do you expect for us to live like this? Thank you.
Hold on, Robert. Alderman Gay, you had a question or not?
I'm sorry, I thought I put it on. It wasn't definitely in regards to what's supposed to take place tomorrow. And it's upsetting, and I've definitely been all day trying to figure out how we can either get the funds to cover that. And it's confusing because, as you said, during that transition, there were periods of time I remember vividly just before the election when that pink slip was placed on numerous doors in Eastport Terrace and Harbor House and in Robinwood around the time of this rent case thing, where they were saying, wait, don't pay your rent because now they're involved in this, rental thing. So it's just so much confusion coming out of there. And now the families have to deal with it. And it's frustrating. It really is.
Well, you think it's frustrating? That's you new to this job. I've seen this game played out before. See, they juggling you around because you new.
No, they're not. They're not.
Listen to me.
Nobody
Listen to me.
judges.
Listen to me.
Around. I just want to make that clear.
I've been down this road. I've seen it, how it works out. And I'm not saying that you're not sincere about what you're doing, but I'm saying the road that they're taking there, we've been around already. And I'm telling you, Housing Authority and all these other places, when you see that money starts to go into an escrow and y'all ain't getting paid because we're going to use the system, something's going to happen. And I'm asking the city, why won't y'all at least talk to our congressmen, our senators, and see how much it really would to take over public housing? And then if you inspecting it on a regular basis, we won't have these conditions. We won't have these conditions. I got a little 8-year-old little girl. I don't want to let her go to 2 or 3 of her little girlfriends' houses because of the conditions of the instruction of the mold and all of that. That's crazy. Then I tell my little girl, no, you can't go to your friend's house. She don't understand why daddy don't want her to play with her friends. But I've been in the house and I've seen, because the moms have asked me to come to help them. I see the condition of the housing. It is unfair. Sure, send your inspectors out and you go to a Housing Authority and you tell them, but then Housing Authority don't do diddly. Or you go to a new Woodside Garden and you see all the conditions going on. This ain't brand new. This ain't a month's worth. This is multi-years worth of neglect. Woodside Garden has had a practice of changing management every 6 months so that they can treat people this way and drain them for their money. This ain't new. This is a game. This is a political game that they learn how to play the rich in their pockets. And we just ain't going to take it no more. We're just not going to stand back. And like I said, we're no longer one community. What's the problem in Woodside Garden is a problem in 20. It's a problem for Old Bury Court. It's a problem for Newtown. It's a problem for all of us now. Yep. We're not going to let you go one community at a time. All of us.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Frida Wildley.
If it's okay, I'd like to come with my colleague Renee Mallett, who is
Sure.
at the end of the speaking roster.
You are the two last on that. Anyone else like to come forward and speak on housing? Anybody else here? Please come forward. Yep.
Hello, my name is Daniel Hollidge. I am the Love Annapolis director from Downtown Hope. And I just wanted to reiterate some of the concerns about the evictions at Robinwood. We've been following closely alongside the Newtown residents as they move in, as well as some of the residents in Robinwood as they are being evicted now. And it does seem very concerning, this pattern of inconsistency with just the expectations of the residents and how they're being held. And I think that something does need to be done. And I'm young and new at this, so I'm just here to reinforce what's been said by those more experienced than me. I just want to thank you all for doing what you're doing, and I would like to hold you all accountable to helping them out. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come forward, Dee.
Good evening, everybody. So like the rest of the people, I come here to speak on the residents.
Just give you a full name and address.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Deontay Ward, 705B Newtown. I know all y'all familiar with the move from Newtown to Robinwood, but I feel like nobody's really familiar with the danger of the moves. While 15 people are being evicted, I feel like the 15 families that are going to replace those are going to be in danger because of the conflict. And because there's no real protection for the residents of Woodside, the residents of Newtown, or the residents of Robinwood that could be leaving out, I feel like there are going to be multiple deaths, and it's going to be on the hands of Housing Authority in the city of Annapolis. So, while I have the most respect for Dewan, Mr. Savage, Ms. Pendel, Gavin, I just feel like there has to be some kind of immediate action to prevent these kind of situations from happening. While everybody in here has spoken about the mold incidents, I've been dealing with that same situation since I was a child. And now that I have a voice, now that the community is following me, I do want you to know that it's not personal, Gavin, but as a resident and for my people, I'm going to do what I have to do to make sure that they get the right things done. So again, I'd rather come to you as a friend of everybody else on the board and work with y'all. Otherwise, like Robert E. said, we do got the city behind us. And when I say the city, I'm talking about all the subsidized housing complexes. So, you know, we can come here next week and the week after that, fill this room with 500 people if y'all want us to. We can stand in front of Housing Authority, peacefully protest. I mean, whatever we got to do, we're going to make a difference in this community and the city. And I'm just asking that y'all get behind us versus against us. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. It's something we've all got to work on together. Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward and speak? Okay, Frida, you're up.
Good evening. My name is Frida Wildy. I live at 403 Chesapeake Avenue in Eastport, and I would like to defer to my colleague Renee Mell to go first, please.
My name is Renee Mell. I live at 933 Wind Whisper Lane. Just want to say I'm sorry to hear about the issues that are presented tonight, and I hope that things get resolved for you. I'm speaking on behalf of the issue that Gary Jobson mentioned earlier. We have this vessel coming into town. It's international. She's doing a third around the world tour. It's all female crewed. They are coming to our town for 9 days, as Gary mentioned, and they are highlighting the need for education for girls around the world, and they're also doing some fundraising while they're in town and for the rest of their trip. The cruise will visit local schools while they're here, and they will be open to the public for tours while they're on the city dock. So we respectfully ask that you help them out. It's a pretty big endeavor to do this around the world trip, so if they could get a little help from the city of Annapolis, that would really help them in their mission.
Here.
So, do you want to ask Renee?
No. I just wanted to comment. I just watched the movie, and it was really good. I mean, it was very inspiring. I commend it to everybody. It's quite a testimony to the strength of all sailors, but those sailors in particular.
Right. Well, we're part of a group of Annapolis sailors that are working on the logistics and hosting the cruise in our homes and trying to make this work. We're one of the 5 East Coast ports that the yacht is coming to. And with the history of this boat and the Whitbread Round the World race, which most of you remember we hosted a long time ago, there will be a lot of notoriety with this visit. And I think the economic impact on the restaurants and the shops and the visitors will far outweigh the what we hope would be a minor dock fee that we're asking you to waive with this resolution. So we're available if you have any questions. I think you've all received an email with background information on the website for this yacht, but thank you for your support, and we hope that you'll join us when we do host the boat here. Thank you.
Alderman Arnett, did you want to say something else?
Did. I, as I said, I just watched the movie and it was very inspiring.
Yeah, got it. Yep.
Very inspiring movie, and I'm going to be there.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Anyone else speaking? Anybody else like to come forward and speak? Thank you. Please.
Heidi Halleck, 512 4th Street in Eastport. You've heard me on different issues, but I am part of the ECHO Action Committee and for the Eastport Civic Association, and some of my colleagues are not able to be here today. And I just want to speak up on the bag ban, and I know the plastic bag ban, I know that it probably
I
was
think there's a public hearing coming up on that soon, so
another public hearing.
not far off.
2 minutes on that. I just want to say, I know it was almost on the consent calendar.
Ma'am, this is coming up on public hearing. You can't speak on that tonight.
Fair enough.
Thank
That
you.
made it easier. Well, I was dragged down here. Thank you.
I'll try to run
later.
You can speak tonight, but it's just
Later on.
Yeah, you can't just when it comes up on the agenda. It's not up on the agenda yet.
Fair enough.
You can wait, okay? And it'll be up.
And we'll try to move it along fast so you can get up here. Thank you. No one else like to come forward and speak? Seeing the motion in the chamber, I declare the comments by the general public closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the next item is the approval of the consent calendar.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
An amendment.
I'd just like to
Alderman Savage.
pull R1720 from the consent calendar and refer it to Rules and Government Committee.
Okay.
Oh, I'll do that at the end.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Alderman Gay, did you have something? No? No? Okay. So we're going to second that with the amendment. Someone second, please.
Second.
All those in favour say aye. Was it roll call? Roll call. Madam City Clerk?
Mayor Buckley?
Yes.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney? Aye. Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Okay.
Ayes have it. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is public hearings continued beginning 0620 plan developments, public housing bulk standards for the purpose of allowing a height adjustment for certain eligible public housing development.
I might just do it just because.
Anybody lined up to speak on that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Okay, Melissa Maddox. I don't want to out you then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I also convey our sentiments about the loss of your mother.
Thank you.
And thank you, council members, for allowing me to speak today on this particular issue. And it goes without saying, it was very moving to hear the testimony of a lot of the residents here today, and I actually share in a lot of their concerns. And I know as a representative of HACA, we will do whatever is within our power to address the environmental issues in the units and to ensure the safety of our residents and to make sure due process is obtained and performed in the event that there is some sort of adverse action. So that is our intent. At the root of the issues today presents a deeper issue for us to begin the venture of creating new affordable housing opportunities. And HACA has embarked on that venture with its first project at Newtown 20. So the goal of that project is to create brand new units, 78 units, for our public housing residents, so that many of the issues that they have dealt with in the past would be finally resolved because they would be able to live in new units. There is, of course, some transition period that they have to deal with regards to temporary relocation, and we hope, and we actually are working with the
Melissa,
Annapolis
sorry, could you
Police
just for the
Department.
TV, could you state full name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My name is Melissa Maddox Evans, address 1901 McGuckian Street, Annapolis, Maryland, Executive Director, Housing Authority, City of Annapolis. And so what I want to share before the council is that there is a code that's presented to you for review and approval under the Public Housing Bulk Standards provision. And we support the amendments that are indicated here on the amendments because it allows for us to be able to build the units at Newtown 20 within the standards that are actually currently there. So the height restrictions that are currently in place under the code would prevent us actually from rebuilding Newtown 20. So we come before you today to ask for your approval of the amendment. We have submitted a plan development application to the city, and this is one of the very first crucial steps that we need to address in order for the review of that application to be able to proceed. So we ask that you review and approve the ordinance as is presented today.
Thank you. I have some questions for you. Alderman Annette first.
Thank you. Not a question so much as having reviewed it, this will be coming to the Rules and City Government. Alderwoman Finlayson chairs that. I'm a little concerned about a spot zoning issue here. And I'm going to be looking to the city attorney to figure out if there's a way we can change it. The amendments as they are now would change it for all of the buildings in those particular zones. And I don't think that's what you intend. And so we understand everybody feels the pressure to get Newtown 20 going, believe me, and then on to all the rest of the things that need repair. But anything you can do, your lawyers that can help us figure that one out, we'll move it as quickly as we can, but I think it's going to come with some problems.
Will do.
Thank you.
Alderman Pindell-Charles was next, and Alderman Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alderman Arnett, my residents in Ward 3 have expressed concern not about the height at the new units, but how it affects Ward 3 and that zoning. And I understand I have no problem with it, but as far as the units being that height, but my residents do have a problem with anything that affects Ward 3 with that height, because we're bumping up right against on Anne Arundel County, and they have no height restrictions. And so we're very concerned about that. So we're glad and we're good with what goes on in Newtown 20, but we're not so good if it happens in Ward 3. That's one thing.
Well, can I just respond?
Yes,
one
sir.
of the things that I've started to look at in the code is whether there's some special exception or variance process that we can go through for these properties in particular. That will have a hearing before the Board of Appeals, but it'll be a lot quicker than changing the zoning code. So we'll need a lot of help from Mr. Lyle in the Office of Law, but we'll figure out a way to.
And I've communicated with Dr. Nash as well, Planning and Zoning Director. The other thing is, Ms. Maddox Evans, thank you so much for being here and for what you're doing. I guess you've heard the concerns expressed by Mr. Ward as far as the possible violence based on the residents moving. Have you addressed that? Can you give us some comfort? I don't know if you've talked with our police chief or your security folks, or what's been done to try to avoid that, because that is extremely disconcerting.
Yes, ma'am. We have been in talks with Chief Jackson about that particular issue. There's a lot of historical issues within the different communities, and we are dealing with specific issues with specific families as they arise. We also have discussed the issue at our meetings with the residents. We've been in talks with the Conflict Resolution Center, and we have sent notices to the residents about the ability for them to contact conflict resolution and set up individual appointments to be able to resolve particular issues. We're also in the process of setting up a community forum to be able to discuss issues that residents feel they need to address formally, maybe in more of a public forum type of meeting. And so we are addressing the issues as as they are presented to us, and in particular specific issues, family by family.
Have you had a conversation or sat down and met with Mr. Ward?
No, ma'am.
I can give you his phone number. You can give him a call. I think to alleviate maybe some of the concerns we've had.
Sure.
Maybe you and Mr. Ward
Because I'd
need
like to know specifically what he was referring to.
Certainly, and I'll give you that phone number. I'll send you the phone number.
Okay, that'll be great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman goes next.
Thank you very much. First, in regards to the legislation before us, 620, I'll obviously support it because I want to see the Newtown 20 development go through. Ross, I'd like to work with you on the amendments and just making sure that we can do this in a timely manner so they can obviously, prepare to secure the funds and all that stuff and just get the project going. My second question, I have to ask, what's going on with these 15 families?
There are not 15 families. That's not a correct
12,
number.
7, 8?
No, it's less than, for privacy reasons, I don't want to indicate, but it's far less than 15 families. I think what persons are referring to is that there were a number of ejectment proceedings that had made their way through the court system.
But somebody is getting evicted tomorrow, though, is my question.
There may be. It's still up in the air. So there are a few cases that are for non-payment of rent. So if the resident is able to pay their rent, they would not be evicted.
And again, I know that you're new to this whole process, but my frustration, as I pointed to earlier, that where they have this mixed messaging thing going on, and the transition from Beverly to you, but I guess my question is, how does a resident go? How do you get $5,000 in back rent without any legal action being taken? How does that just add up? You can get $5,000 in back rent and then just one day they decide, oh, now we really got to get them out?
Well, I can answer that. There has been some, with regards to rents, once the city inspection issue was presented and came out, and there was a suit that was filed in which the judge ordered that HACA could not pursue ejectments until a unit was licensed. It prevented us from pursuing ejectments through the summary court process. So we were not able to pursue any ejectments for unlicensed units. So unfortunately, also during that case, the judge did order for residents to continue to pay their rent. Unfortunately, for some reason, through the messaging, not from HACA, but from outside sources, maybe some residents had the impression that they didn't have to pay at all. And so HACA has been sending correspondence, letters to residents reinforcing what the requirements are, and individual letters to residents letting them know what their individual rent balances are, and also asking, if they would like the opportunity to enter to a repayment plan, if that's an option. So we're trying to reinforce, because our message has always been consistent. The rent amounts are due under the lease. And so we understand residents have been receiving messages from various entities that it's not their responsibility to pay rent.
I guess
and we're
that's
not
just
sure why that is.
It's confusing and it's frustrating because I look at HACA as a company or as a business. I don't think the McDonald's would ever allow Burger King or some other competitor or whomever to walk up in a business and just start posting signs everywhere with misleading information. And then months later, they have to deal with that. That's concerning that these, on the $2,500, I felt like I should have got a.
Excuse me, Alderman Gay, because this matter is in court.
This isn't about the.
Well, let me just describe where we are right now. Some of the individuals in court federally are being represented by the same individuals in some of the eviction cases, and so we're treading now into an area where I think the Ethics Commission has advised that you must recuse yourself from discussions and deliberations in a forum like this.
Residents that are literally about to be homeless in the middle of February.
All I can do is advise you, sir.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Alderman Tierney was next. Sorry.
Thank you. Hi, Melissa. Thanks for coming out tonight. Maybe I don't misunderstand the legislation. I believe it is not limited to Newtown, and I would hope that it would apply to future redevelopment, perhaps of other assisted housing. And am I correct in that?
Yeah, Correct,
so it's
affordable
not
housing
specific.
development. No, it's just that Newtown 20 is
It's
one
up
of
at
the
bat,
first.
yeah, right, because I think this is a great opportunity for redevelopment in the other areas, and I would hope that Dr. Nash is listening and this can get in the comprehensive plan as well.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Pendle Charles is next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Maddox Evans, Mr. Ward has come back in the council chambers. Mr. Ward, I had indicated, Ms. Maddox Evans, that you, based on your testimony concerning the possible violence based on the residents being moved, that maybe you all should have a sit-down meeting and talk about the specifics, so she will have some clarity on what you're talking about. So that's just my suggestion. Since you brought this to the forefront and to the council. And I was going to give her your new phone number, but now that you're here, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Maddox. Next up is Patrick Stewart.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Buckley and members of City Council. I'm going to try to speak briefly. I think Melissa kind of covered the bases and laid out the need for this code amendment very effectively. I just want to start by saying I think we all recognize that conditions at Newtown 20 warrant major change. This item that we're talking about right now it's a small piece, but it's an important piece of allowing
And
that
could you
change
just
to move
clarify
forward for Newtown 20? I'm sorry?
Your position, please?
Yes, I should. I'm
No-
jumping
name
ahead of
and
myself.
address.
Apologies.
Yes.
So my name is Patrick Stewart. I'm with Penrose. We're partnering with HACA on the redevelopment of Newtown
Okay.
20.
And your address, please?
575 South Charles, Baltimore, Maryland.
Thank you.
So just saying that this item is an important piece of moving Newtown 20 forward. So just to kind of talk through some of the need for why do we need this height relief? The redevelopment that we're proposing and partnering with HACA on is a comprehensive revitalization. It will replace and preserve all existing 78 units of housing in Newtown 20 in currently aging and obsolete buildings, replace it with a brand new community. This includes, it includes a lot. So there's a lot that we have to accomplish in order to make that happen. Full-scale demolition following relocation of current residents who will all have the option to return, the right to return. Construction of all new site utilities, so electric, telecommunications, water and sewer, upgrading and improving stormwater management, new open and green space, replacing the existing basketball court and tot lot, a brand new community clubhouse, which is more than double the size of the existing one, that will have activity and meeting spaces for residents, increasing the amount of parking compared to what's there now, which is also a benefit to residents, increasing connectivity by eliminating the isolated cul-de-sac condition at Newtown 20 in favor of a new connected looped road. So in order to fit all this into the site, we had to include both 2- and 3-story buildings, including 3 buildings that are sort of a modified garden style of building. And it's just not feasible to do it under 35 feet, which is the current height restriction. So in a nutshell, building all of that back, replacing all 78 units, adding site amenities, and doing it all in a way that conforms with new, more stringent site requirements, stormwater management requirements, takes a lot of horizontal space. And so we need a little bit more vertical space in order to kind of fit that all in. Under the old code, we would have been able to get that height relief. The proposed, worth noting, the proposed buildings are consistent with an Annapolis scale and precedent, we believe. They're really no taller, if at all, than the 3-story apartment buildings north of Newtown 20. Can I be allowed to continue briefly? Sorry. So really what we're asking for is really just the same flexibility with height that's available now to market rate projects in Annapolis. But as a result of recent revisions to the NPDU code, seem to have, new projects like Newtown 20 seem to have been inadvertently blocked from that relief. So again, this code amendment is important to enable Newtown 20 to move forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alderman Net has a question.
Sorry. A general question, Mr. Mayor. I am curious why we're hearing this now. It hasn't gone to the Planning Commission. That's our usual process. I mean, we'll go to the planning commission and we'll hear it again, but kind of wondering why we're hearing it now.
So when were you made aware of that, Patrick? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
When were you made aware of that? Sorry, is it just on your...
Of the need for the variance?
Yeah.
This, as far as I understand it, came up a couple months ago, and I believe, I can't speak for planning and zoning staff, but I think they understood that something had to happen, and this was my understanding of the best solution that would sort of solve the issue for Newtown 20, but also more generally for other similar developments that may need to happen in the future.
So your next stop will be when this is heard before the planning commission, and then it'll come to the rules and city government, and then we will figure out what we're going to be able to do to accommodate, but not do spot zoning.
That's my understanding. And obviously, we'll do anything we can to help kind of allay that concern about spot zoning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to come forward and speak on this? Okay, I declare the public hearing at O-620 left open until planning commission findings are received by the council. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is 0720, designated loading zones. For the purpose of authorizing designated loading zones in the city of Annapolis, creating certain definitions and generally relating to designated loading zones.
Let's get Robert Eads back in here for this one. Anybody like to speak on this? Please come forward. Anyone here to speak on O-7-20? Designated loading zones. Alderman Arnett would like to speak
Mayor,
on
I'm
it.
looking at the legislation. I believe I had asked for, but if I haven't, I would like this to come to rules and city government as well.
Okay, thank
Thank
you. Okay, I declare the public hearing on O-720 closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the next item on the agenda is 0920. The next item on the agenda is 0920, comprehensive bag reduction for the purpose of defining certain terms, prohibiting dealers from supplying customers with plastic bags for use as checkout bags, requiring paper bags containing recycled content, providing for the applicability of the chapter, and other things, providing an effective date generally related to checkout bags.
First person signed up to speak is Guy Schaefer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Guy Schaefer. I live at 7101 Bayfront Drive in Annapolis, which is also known as Baywoods of Annapolis. Baywoods is a continuing care retirement community of some 200 voting residents, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Residents Association. Baywoods residents have had a plastic bag recycling arrangement with Giant Foods for some time. It's been effective, but it is far from fully effective. And Baywoods is on the waterfront of Chesapeake Bay, and every year we see birds and wildlife that are affected by the trash, plastic bag trash. In fact, if you drive down Bembe Beach Road, you will see in the wooded area there's trash lying there all over the. And so I'm here to basically say Baywoods is 100% in favor of your planned trash shopping bag proposal as represented by 0920. We hope you will approve it. We think it's something that is very, very important and is a growing trend in the United States. Now, I would like to make one other comment, which is not on the schedule, but I have listened to a great deal tonight. My background is a senior naval officer and then a senior executive in industry. And gentlemen, if I had the complaints that I heard tonight, I would consider my company or my Navy bankrupt. I hope you will do something about it. It sounds to me like there is a problem, and it is a problem that needs some attention to detail at every level. I hope you will do something out. It's kind of dangerous to be criticizing when I'm asking for your help, but in this particular case, I think and I hope that you will all follow through on it. It really needs something to be done.
Thank you, Guy. We are just as frustrated. We are dealing with 60-year-old buildings that a lot of us inherited, and so we are trying to find a path there. Thank you. So true. So true. Next up is Frida. You can just have one name now, like Shakira, Frida. Like we just call you Frida.
It's beginning to be a habit, but Frida Wildy, 403 Chesapeake Avenue in Eastport, and I am speaking tonight in support of the plastic bag ban at checkouts. And I'm on the water a lot, and I walk my dogs a lot. I'm outside, and I see plastic bags everywhere in the trees, in the water, littering streets that clog up storm drains, and I'm hoping that you all will support the bag ban. It's very convenient to carry a reusable bag. I have them everywhere, and they're easy to tuck in your pocket and run into the store and grab something and put it in your reusable bag. And over a year ago, I was in Austin, Texas, which had a plastic bag ban, which was overturned by the Texas Supreme Court, which was no surprise. But most of the merchants that I visited still continued to either give away reusable bags or paper bags with their logo and name and everything on it. And I asked them about it because it was my first experience with that. And they said that it was an effective marketing tool and advertising tool. And I think if Allen's Boots on South Congress and Austin can do it, so can we. So appreciate your support.
Thank you, Frida.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jared Lippman. Councillor, how you doing?
Hello, members of council, friends. Gavin, also welcome to have you back, and sympathies for your family. I come to you obviously as a business owner of Ward 6.
Just give you a full address, sorry.
Sorry, Jared Lippman, 5 Cambridge Court, Annapolis. Business owner in Ward 6, a resident in Ward 5, former legislator, and a environmentalist, I would like to say. I come here in support of 0920 and a plastic bag generally, but with a few reservations and suggestions. I certainly agree with the need to reduce use of plastic bags and plastic generally, especially in the single-use category. And I applaud the sponsors and Mr. Savage for sponsoring legislation. My main concern is the fees at the city level. I understand the motivation is to change behavior, but we are in a very small jurisdiction, 6 square miles. It is incredibly easy if you are a city or county resident that frequents a city business to shop elsewhere if you find these fees to be burdensome, nuisance, or disturbing in any other sense. For the city, it is an experiment to do fees, but for businesses, it's our livelihood that you're playing with when you start adding fees for businesses that would apply in this small jurisdiction as opposed to our neighboring business. For the legislation as a whole, I would ask that you have a provision that defers to state legislation if the state speaks to it. So either pause this, or if you don't pause it, go forward now, but have something in there that says if the state acts on this, the state version would preempt. Conflicting laws is a major concern. You should also know that, as the last person said, this is a growing trend, but that growing trend has impacts. The paper bag making companies are working at full capacity and are reaching shortages, so the supply of paper bags as alternatives is a major concern. We've also been advised that because of the shortage in the labor force and the shortage of supplies, these mills are working at full capacity, and we should expect a 20% increase in costs of those supplies before the summer, excuse me. I also want to, I have a lot of details. I don't know how much I'm going to get, so I'm going to try to throw a few things at you quickly. The legislation is smart to consider the paper bags acceptable if it's 40%. I know that there's perhaps some discussion to go higher. I would suggest you leave it at 40%. 40% is common in the industry and is available. If you seek higher than 40% post-consumable waste, you're going to put a huge burden on businesses to find bags that meet that requirement. So I want to get through those 5 points quickly in a little bit more detail. Like I said, I agree that reducing plastic change is imperative. I certainly believe in man-made climate change, and reducing products based on fossil fuels is certainly logical. The use of fees, like I said, I think is risky. It adds minimal additional benefit to the main cause. I think your main goal is to eliminate plastic bags. Go ahead and do that. The additional fees of what you're trying to accomplish, while laudable, has only incremental benefit to the legislation while bringing huge costs to the individual businesses. Happy to speak to this longer. 3 minutes certainly goes fast when you're on this side of the podium.
We've got a couple more points.
I appreciate that. Thank you. My main concern is the difference between if you're a city business and your education is going to be going out to city residents. Let's say you're successful and you hit every single city resident. We've done recycling education for how many years now? 30, 40 years? How effective has that been? How many people still put pizza crust in their pizza boxes and they put it in the recycling bin? You're also likely not to hit all my county customers. Right on the border on Forest Drive, it goes county, city, right down the area. You're not going to target county residents, and how many of them will be aware? I understand that there is a limitation between $20,000 over and under for the fees. How many of you knew before discussions we might have had in the past week that my business is under $20,000? If you're a county resident, you're not going to say, oh, that's right, that's under $20,000. I'm not going to be charged bags at that business. You're just going to say, forget this, I don't want to go there. I can get similar products, maybe not as good as customer service, at another business and go elsewhere. Thank you. Businesses are fiercely competing with internet businesses. I don't know that you can appreciate when you're not a business owner how hard it is to stay in business and keep your customer counts up. Even if you're hugely successful in your education campaign, even if you're hugely successful in getting residents to pay for extra bags, to bring in their reusable bags, to carry out without any bags, if you miss by 5%, 5% is a huge deal to my business. How do you think the city would handle a 5% reduction in your income and be able to still manage your costs? 5% is a huge deal to me. And that's if you're hugely successful in getting people to bring in their reusable bags.
Thank you.
Those are my main points.
Thank you. Alderman Annette had the first question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jared, I don't remember, were you on the council when we went through this the last time?
Mr. Shropshire.
Right.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was before my time.
So several quick points, but at that time, that legislation died as much because we found that paper bags are almost as deleterious as plastic bags. And we didn't really find a good way to reconcile that other than Mayor Moyer gave out a whole bunch of cloth bags for people to shop. I'm interested in your discussion about the fees. I mean, if we're going to do this, there is going to have to be enforcement that's going to come with a cost. We're having more and more things that we're enforcing, like short-term rentals and maybe ancillary dwelling units and so forth. Pretty soon, we'll have more inspectors and police officers. That'll be interesting to see. As far as the state, if the state, which I worry they won't, but if they do pass legislation, unless we're more strict and they allow us to be more strict, they'll automatically supersede us, won't they? And the last thing is, I have to follow up with Mr. Gerald about this, but I'm beginning to think recycling, because China's out of the business, is kind of a lost cause. We're all going to be throwing it in the trash and the landfill, so separating it probably isn't going to be a worry for that much longer. But we will look forward to your participation in this. It was a fun time the last time, and I'm sure it'll be fun this time.
May I respond to some of your comments?
Sure.
Thank you. Your first point about the differences environmentally between paper, plastic, and cloth bags, it's a tough one. I've heard and read articles on the subject for years. Even you think a cotton tote, that's got to be like the great ideal solution, right? Well, cotton totes, do you know how much water and energy goes into growing cotton and turning it into a bag? And then people, whether they clean it or not, they're very concerned about how the sanitation aspect of it. Paper, obviously, even at best, it's 40%. Best in most situations, 40%, but then where do you think the other 60%? And we're cutting down trees to, so I'm trying not to speak on that, but that is where government, I think, can speak to what is the best thing to do, and you can do research. What you can't speak to, because you're not experts, is what a fee is going to do to my business. Even if you're in a business, you're not in my business. So you're not experts, and so that's where I get very concerned with when you start messing with where you're not experts in.
But how do we pay for the inspections or the enforcement?
So speaking of enforcement, I'd also like to add, I mentioned the strain on the industry to produce paper bags. What are you going to do to me if I can't get paper bags? Are you going to allow me a temporary waiver to use plastic bags in that situation? Yeah. And again, I mean, how much of a nuisance do you want it to be to shop in your city businesses? We employ 20 people typically, including teenagers, adults who make this careers. What do you want to do to your city businesses? How much of a strain do you want it to be? It's tough out there. You know, when the number of taxes we pay, keeping up customer counts, you know, just be careful treading on areas that make it just that much more difficult to do this. Paper bags are a lot more expensive. I can give you those details if you want to. I ran out of time, but I've got the numbers.
Yeah, we would like, the details would be helpful, and we're thanking you for coming here.
Yeah, thanks. So I can give you some of those numbers real quickly. On average, I don't know if you know, for those of you who shop my store, I've been pushing, do you need a bag or can you deal without a bag? And if you want a bag, I sell those reusable totes. I sell them at a loss because I want to encourage that good behavior. So about 30% of my customer transactions involve a plastic bag. If you go to paper bags, if I get one so plastic bag has a nice easy handle. If I go to a paper bag that's a little smaller without the handle, so a little less convenient, you're talking about roughly double to almost triple the cost. If you're talking about a paper bag that has handles, so it's as convenient as plastic, then you're talking up to 6 times the cost. If you add in that 20% fee cost increase that I'm expecting by April or May, then it's going to be that much more. Then you get up to 700 times the cost. Now you're talking about the amount of money that I would pay between 1 to 2 part-time employees. So how many questions do you want me to ask myself of, I already have minimum wage increasing. I also have employee benefits increasing. I have healthcare increasing. I've got tough decisions to make. And if you do it on the city level, I am not on par with county businesses. You do it on the county level, well, it's a burden to all of us, but at least we're on par with each other. We're still not on par with Amazon because they don't have the bag fees. And by the way, they have a box and packaging for one item. I'm talking about one bag for lots of products. So, help me out here is my point. Don't do this fee on the city level.
Alderman Pam was next. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I assume that we invoke the former alderman waiver of the 3-minute rule. You have any idea how long Alderman Arnett and I have been waiting for this moment?
Man, I thought I had a lot more time left. That buzzer goes off quickly.
Actually, I do have a serious question, and it would be of the city attorney. Alderman Arnett touched on it, but I just want to make sure that presumably legislation that's before the General Assembly right now would preempt, in all likelihood, anything that we did unless we did something clearly stricter. Is that?
Well, if they allow us. It's in the AG's office.
I'm sorry. I want to hear from you. Come on.
If you're asking me, I haven't seen the legislation, but there are 3 ways to go. One, the state could preempt us by saying we take over this whole thing of plastic bags. They rarely do that when it comes to the city of Annapolis, though. They kind of give us kind of free reign when it comes to things within our jurisdiction. That's the second option. And the third option, they could do something that's totally different. So generally, state legislation will take those 3 paths. They do something that was totally unexpected in relation to how we decide to regulate.
Well, if they do number 3, then we're free to still cover the subject area.
Sure, and usually in the preemption, they will say, take ownership of it in state code in the preemption preamble to the code.
Okay.
But if it's silent, that means no preemption. It just depends on the wording. So we would have to look at the legislation and we could give you some more detailed information once I see the actual legislation. The question becomes do you want to act now before that comes out or do what has been suggested just in case? But the problem is until you see it, we can't properly advise you about what to do and what would be the implications.
Understood. I also totally agree with Alderman Arnett's assessment of the making paper bags. You may have passed by at one point or at least heard of the Westvaco plant that was in western Maryland right on the Potomac River that closed down about 1.5 years ago and has caused great economic problems in Westernport and Luke, 2 small towns in the western part of the state. But what that plant for years did to the Potomac River, the upper Potomac, is borderline incredible. And from an environmentalist standpoint, I think a lot of people were happy to see it go. From an economic standpoint, it's been disastrous for the local community, but the making of paper is not clean. The biggest advantage of paper over plastic is, of course, it takes a lot of chemicals to make plastic bags too, but paper's biodegradable and the plastic's not. That's the only advantage I see, because they're both...
and it doesn't blow in the wind into trees, and it doesn't blow around as easily.
Correct. I mean, we're all disgusted to see paper bags flying around. I know your environmental record, and I suppose it somewhat... initially, I was a little surprised to hear that you weren't supporting this, knowing legislation that we've worked on together before in years past. But, I think there's a lot to it. So,
if I could respond to one other point, as I noted, the mills are working at full capacity.
Yeah.
To me, that also demonstrates that when you switch to plastic bag bans and add a fee, it does not mean that the total number of bags goes down to zero. Otherwise, these mills would have layoffs, and they wouldn't be working so hard and worried about production.
Well, actually, I know somebody involved in the sale of paper bags, and
business is good.
Business is good, but I don't think there's much more they can do right now. And I agree with you.
But that's my point. That doesn't indicate to me that people are not using bags because of this.
Well, I think there may be a place for legislation, if not exactly this way, something similar, because, again, like I said, I think we all agree that we don't really like plastic bags given our druthers, but there are some other things that need to be looked at.
Yeah. So
thank you for coming down.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Anyone else?
Alderman Savage was next.
Thanks. Yeah, I just want. Now is not the time to get in a debate. We'll have plenty of opportunity, and you're welcome to come to the committee when we do delve into this. We'll have our staff who's put together some research. But I do want to comment on a few things. And my understanding is that there is still a question about preemption on the state level, but it's in the AG's office. I don't know if anything came out today in the hearings or anything from that office yet. But I do want to say also that one of the things to keep in mind is this really doesn't work without a fee. Because if there's no fee, people are still going to be using paper. You're going to have more and more paper be used, and you'll have the problem that the former alderman described. But the data that we have seen from Prince George's County, and granted it is a small snapshot, but it seems to reveal that there's been a 90% reduction, over 90% reduction of usage of single-use bags. It seems like about half the people end up taking no bags, and the other half the people end up bringing their own. And so that would, in turn, reduce the amount of paper bags that get used and that have to get purchased by the business. And so hopefully also drive down business costs in that regard for not needing to purchase as many bags. But we also, the legislation proposes about a year lead up time before this takes effect, which gives us time to work with businesses and the residents to kind of get them up to speed, hopefully get some bags out to folks in preparation. And so all that said, I'd look forward to having more of a discussion with you about this.
Can I respond? 2 points, I'll be brief. One, the study at least that you shared with me today that showed people not getting plastic bags or not getting new paper bags, it relied on the decisions of 246 people. For perspective, we see an average of 600 customers a day. So I'm not going to risk my livelihood in saying that a survey result of 246 people is going to be anywhere representative of 600 customers a day times the number of days in the year. The second point I'd like to add is...
incorrect.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. You were about to say something, so maybe it'll come back to me.
Just clarifying, it was more than, I think one of them had 200 people, but it was different.
The pool of people in the third box was 246 people, and that was where you saw the bag reduction.
We can get into this at another time, but I think the data we can certainly go over that.
The other point I want to make about if you don't raise fees, it doesn't mean that the business community won't solve this problem. Let capitalism work. If you increase my costs by sevenfold, you don't think I'm going to figure out a way to do this? Let me experiment with fees. Let me experiment with ways to drive that behavior down. That's the way capitalism works and business works. I'm not going to seek increasing costs without figuring something out to reduce those costs. But that should be on us as a business community, not on the government, to arbitrarily come up with numbers and then apply it in this group and not apply it to that group and think that the consumer group is going to understand what you've done.
Alderman Tierney was next.
Thank you. This is kind of awkward because we're having this cross communication while you're up there, but I have a comment and a question. I'm on the Environmental Standing Committee, and we did sort of discuss this and angst about, do we do it now? Do we wait for the state? And I think the thought was that it's in the legislative queue. It's going to be going before a couple of committees, and then hopefully in that time period, we'll have an idea of what the state is doing, or at least a timetable. My question is, where's the county in this? Am I missing the obvious?
I don't know, but to my understanding, there's not effective legislation. So you would be, little donut hole you'd be the donut hole around the donut without the same legislation unless the state acts.
Well, the state acts. We're
Like
first
we do
out
on
of the box. But the state will then dictate over, unless both the city and
that's why I think that's the ideal solution, is the state passes a comprehensive plastic bag ban. But again, if the city went forward and just did a plastic bag ban, like a styrofoam ban, like a styrofoam container ban, do that. Go ahead, ban plastic bags, and we'll figure out a way to keep our costs down. Just don't you arbitrarily set a fee of what I do, or which businesses have
ban
to pay
plastic
that fee.
without a fee.
Yeah,
just to
ban
get
the
it
plastic
out.
bags.
It's not going to work.
Okay, Alderman Pendle Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alderman Lippman, do you belong to any area business associations?
I do. I'm a board member of SOFO, but I didn't mention that because I'm not representing SOFO tonight.
Okay.
And it's not from, I was just on vacation, just had
Right.
one day to put the information I put forward, so I didn't have a chance to communicate with my fellow members.
Okay, I was just wondering if a downtown partnership or SOFO or any business associations in the area that frequent Annapolis residents have weighed in on this.
I don't know.
That
to
would
answer
be
your
helpful.
question. Yeah, I don't know.
Very helpful.
What I would also suggest about the whole fee, city government, or city governments in general, immediately rush to solve problems with taxes and fees. Have you thought about seeking sponsorships? If you want to collect bags and give it to low-income people, I am fairly confident that there are many businesses that would say, here's my bag for free with my nice big logo. I'd love to see this bag used around town. So just the immediate jump to fees and taxes to solve problems, and when you skip the business sense, it's a little just unsettling.
It would be helpful to get something from the area business associations.
Thank you. We'll get as many people at the table as possible, I think. Alderman Gay.
What's SOFO's?
South Forest Drive Business
Did
Association.
they make any take on this as a group?
Not as of this moment that I know of, and I would know, I believe, if there was. Like I just mentioned, I don't know if you caught the conversation, I haven't been in town long enough to address this issue to solicit my peers' opinion on the subject.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Anybody else like to come forward and speak on plastic bags? Oh. Should have got you on that list earlier.
I'm going to try this again. I'm sorry I came late and I didn't sign up. Heidi Halleck. I live at 512 4th Street in Annapolis and Eastport. I'm with the Eastport Eco Action Committee. Just a couple of quick points. I think you need to hear it. You need to hear it over and over again that we support it, and most people and most of the residents support this. I understand your concerns about the fees. First of all, I will say that my spouse, Lisa DePinto, is a marine scientist for NOAA. She was the director for the marine debris program for a while. before she was sent off to do the work with the oil spill. One of the things that they've said, and they've said over and over again, is that we can't clean up the plastic that we have in the environment at this point. It's just overwhelming. What we can do, when we have the ability to do, is to stop putting more in the ocean. That's what we have to stop. And it has to happen on every level, and it's a national concern, and it's also a city concern. And I think, and I get that we know that it's in the marine environment, it's litter, but it's costs to the city as well, major costs to the city. The litter pickup, the city pays for it. The big problem we have is the bags clog the recycle machines. We know that. And if you've listened to the county, they say they have to have 3 employees, full-time employees in there, pulling out the bags from the machine. So 3 full-time staff, do the math, that's the salaries that we're paying, we as the citizens. So and we're passing those costs off to the city and to the taxpayers alone. What we need to do is change behaviors. We need to get people to stop. Now, if you brought this ban bag in 10 years ago, people weren't as up to it. People are receptive, people understand it, and people need to be pushed. If you don't charge a fee and you just have people come in and say, I want a paper bag, they're not going to bring their bags in, and they're not going to use reusable bags. Now, they don't have to be cloth. They don't have to be, they can be lots of other materials. Polyester, there's plenty of them. There's so many different versions of it. But if you charge that fee, it works. Now, look in DC. DC thought it was going to be a great revenue source. They charged 5 cents a bag, and then the retailers could keep 1 cent. And the city budgeted, just like tickets, traffic tickets, it was part of their revenue. And they were so excited. Within 2 years, the revenues dropped dramatically. They never expected, they had it budgeted out to be, this was going to be great. But what happened? 5 cents a bag. Behaviors changed overnight. It was just something they just did not expect. So I'm hoping that that's going to happen here. That if you walk in and you have to pay 20 cents for a bag, people are going to go ahead. They're going to change their behaviors. And I just hope that you extend it to restaurants and and it gets to the point where we extend it out not just to large grocery stores and retailers, that it be used and applied to restaurants as well, because the same thing applies. You apply a fee, people will behave, then they'll stop doing it, and that's what we intended to do. Thank you.
Just have some questions for you. So Alderman Pindell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Heidi, attorney to attorney to attorney. Mr. Alderman Lippman owns a True Value. You tell me how you can convince him.
Just the way I did it. I hear that he's saying, you heard him say, I try and do it and only 1/3 of my customers use it. But if you can get that 1/3 down to 10%, I mean, you're not charging them a fee. But if you do it, it's going to be great. Your costs are going to be minimal. And I get it. People are creative. Now, I use your store. You're my favorite spot. We don't go anywhere else. We start there first, and then if we're stuck, we'll go to the other ones. And I do get it. But we bring our bags in, and you just need to make people mindful, because people sometimes just walk out with the bags because they're not aware of it. And I think it makes a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward and speak on O-9-20? Alderman Savage.
I just want to state for the record, I will send out the research I have to everybody. And it's from 3 jurisdictions, 1,500 shoppers from Prince George's County, about 500 from Baltimore, and 250 from Washington County. And then we have another 2,500, 3,000, 1,000, 2,500, 8,000, 2,000 from other jurisdictions around the state. I'll send that out to you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I declare the public hearing on O-9-20 closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is a legislative action, second reader, beginning with O-4019, Capital Budget and Capital Improvement Program Maintenance Facilities.
Move approval of O-4019.
Second.
Any discussion?
Aye.
Alderman Tierney? Yeah.
This is really, well, this issue, I'm not going to be Monday morning quarterback or anything like that and talk about what ifs, et cetera, but I'm not going to support this modification for two reasons. First, I believe it enables bad behavior on the part of us at the sake of the residents and not realizing the implication of the delays and the needed planning on what was once a landfill on Spa Road site. I also do not want to approve this until we know which way Hillman is going with the RFP responses, which I understand are due Fridays, as it blows any chance of getting Hillman Garage rebuilt with bond monies, and then we have no plan B, and I can't accept that. Yeah, I just, at 6.23 million, I wish I had that, 2 years ago, or we would be rebuilding Hillman at that time. So I don't take this lightly. I think we're that close to looking at the capital budget in its entirety that we should wait. I think it would be very prudent of us. This is a big chunk of change. I know, we've waited a long time for Spa Road to be relocated, but, as a resident, residents look at that saying, why is the city problem my problem? And that's a fair reaction to have, so.
So for the record, Alderman Tierney, do you want to keep the public works on Spa Road? So do you have a plan B for that?
Status quo. We've lived with the status quo for a couple of years, but I mean, I'm saying let's at least wait for the capital budget so we can see it in its entirety. To add 6.23 millions early I just think is irresponsible until you see the whole capital budget.
Okay, Alderman Arnett's next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I would urge my colleague to reconsider. This is somewhat like a discussion we had at the Planning Commission where they got into all the details of the redevelopment of the site at Hudson Drive. What we're doing here, I believe, is changing the language in the CIP to reflect the Public Works facility going on Hudson Drive rather than going on Forest Drive. There are still all kinds of things that need to be heard by the Planning Commission and us about the design at Forest Drive, and out of that there will be clarification of the investment at Hudson Street. At that time, I think the council, starting with the Finance Committee, but certainly the council writ large and the budget, will be able to reconsider and could even reconsider at that point that Hudson Street is more expensive than doing Spa Road. We still have that before us. Right now, we're changing the description in the CIP. We're not approving the plans. We're not looking at stormwater management, any of those kinds of things, nor do we have a final budget for the actual cost. I, too, would like to look at those things. I think those are things that we need to be considerate of. I would urge, though, that we not delay this any more than we have to. We have Public Works employees who have gone for years and years and years in a less than happy situation, and to the extent that this goes forward at the new location and with an acceptable budget, I really would like to see us move in that direction. So I will be supporting and voting in favor of this ordinance.
Alderman Pendell Charles is next, then Alderman Payon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few words. Number one, Ward 4 doesn't want it. Number 2, Ward 3 does. And if we don't pass this tonight, I think Mr. Gerald's hair is going to get whiter than what it already is. Thank you.
Alderman Payon.
Mr. Mayor, I think that there's probably no capital project that we have that's more important than this one. It isn't just a matter of comfort for our employees, but a new facility allows them to do their job better, more efficiently. This is something that should have been done 7 or 8 years ago. We are so overdue for this at this point. Now, look, I don't like the cost. I'm not sure I know what to say about it. I don't think there's much we can do about it, apparently. At least I'm assuming that. It's way more than we had originally budgeted for this project. As you know, I have concerns about the environmental issues here, but that can be fixed. I think a number of us are very cognizant of what some of the problems are, and they will be addressed. I'm confident of that. You want to delay this for 2 weeks while we find out a little bit more about the Hillman situation? I don't think 2 weeks is going to do it. I mean, I'd even say a month, but that's probably not going to do it either in terms of what we know about Hillman. This thing is so unbelievably overdue that I think putting a vote off on this at this point is simply not a good idea. This will promote, as I said, efficiency, allow the department to do a better job, and I, for one, am ready to go forward and go forward favorably for this. Thank you.
Alderman Tierney?
I think just one last point I want to make is, have we done a comprehensive real estate analysis of city-owned land so that we know that this is a good site to have? I understand, and I should know the answer to this, but I don't, is we had Dan Neese do a survey of all of our city property and see where they were ranked as far as revenue, et cetera. I mean, where does that play into this? I mean, we just jumped at this piece of property because it became readily available and it was a win-win. But I have no idea of what else is out there. And have we looked at that? Let's think outside the box. Have we looked at sites in the county? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. And as a councilwoman, I should. Yeah. Before I make this decision.
And we have. So part of the reason why it's taken 7 years, I guess, to get this was originally funded about 7 years ago. At that time, the Capitol Gazette building became available, so that seemed like a good alternative. So we talked about that, and we took everybody on a tour for that. And the mayor at the time, and that was actually going to house everything in the city. So this would have become a ceremonial building, but everything else we were going to move out of Gorman. Everything else was going to be out there. So that seemed like a good option. The mayor at the time decided that was a really bad time to move out of downtown. That sent the wrong signal. So then we looked outside the county. We looked at the SHA District 5 building that's out on Defense Highway, because there were rumors at the time that they were going to leave that site and move to a different site. So we met with them and talked through it. We've looked at a lot of different sites over the years. This site wasn't available until just recently, so we didn't look at this. We didn't know that this was even within the realm of possibilities. But it is an ideal site for us. Clearly, we looked at Forest Drive at that site there. It was a piece of undeveloped real estate that was available. There were a lot of issues associated with that, as you recall from the task force. I think it's telling that there was a public hearing held for this a couple weeks ago, and nobody came in opposition to this site. I think that's good news for all of us, that there seems to be acceptance that this is a viable site. A reminder that as far as the pricing goes, we haven't chosen to start the design process for this site because we need to have some assurances that the council is going to support it as the site for the building. So we need this vote tonight so we can move on and start doing some of the conceptual design so we can reprice it. We can start with the value engineering early, and you're going to have a second bite at the apple when the FY21 CIP comes forward, and hopefully we have all of those new costs. These are all estimates that you see right now. We think that they can come down. But until we know we're buying that site and moving there, we're not going to spend a lot of money on design.
Thank you. So let me ask this, because in my DNA is risk management. Okay, Friday we find out, or the RFP comes in for Hillman, whatever, and we say, this isn't a good idea, that we're going to give Hillman away. We're going to, have somebody else manage it. But we essentially have to rebuild it ourselves then. It's not going to go to a developer. It just didn't pan out. We don't know that yet. And so then we're stuck with, what are we going to do with this decrepit garage? So I would like to know that scenario before I commit $6.23 million to the capital budget. I know we'll be able to revisit it during the budget stage, but do you think we'll have a handle on which way Hillman is going at that time?
I think we should by June, but as a fallback position, if that doesn't come through for Hillman Garage, I think the option B would be to look at revenue bonds for Hillman Garage, which wouldn't be GO bonds. It wouldn't count towards the debt limit for the city. And obviously there's revenue coming from that. I mean, that's what we're relying on for this P3. It's that it's going to pay for itself through private development. If it doesn't through private development, then I think the city should look at that option of using revenue bonds and letting the revenue pay for the bonds on a going forward basis. But all of that does not in any way eliminate the need for this maintenance facility. I mean, there's going to be so many advantages. We're going to be able to consolidate all of the fleet maintenance activities. They're spread out in 4 locations right now. There's great efficiencies, and this was something that should have been done years ago, as others have said. But there really are tremendous efficiencies that are going to be realized by having this one building.
I understand, and the vote doesn't have to be unanimous. So,
Alderman Gay was next, and then Alderman Annette.
Yeah, I guess I'm just based off of Ellie, what you were talking about. I understand your concern, and I mean, this is all just guesstimations. I mean, the $6.23 million is a lot. That could probably fix up a lot of the houses that we heard from tonight. And for that reason, I'm just not voting for this bill.
Alderman Annette.
Thank you. So I share Alderwoman Tierney's concern about Hillman Garage. I think that we have a lot yet to know about that, but I think they're separable issues. It's not like we're going to do Hillman or the Public Works facility. One way or another, we need to do both. I agree with Alderman Payone and City Manager Gerald. I keep calling him Director. It's time to get on with this. We will have 2 different bites of the apple still. One is the new cost estimates and the revised CIP, which is going to be coming to us very quickly. I know a lot of my colleagues, including Alderwoman Tierney, are very good about coming to the Finance Committee, and we value that, and we can have those furthering discussions. But for tonight, I think, for me at least, we need to move forward with this.
Alderman Savage.
Yeah, I agree with my colleague from Ward 8. I had a number of questions earlier on in the process, but at this point, I do think this is the best move for the city. I had some concerns about the remediation costs, and some of that's been resolved, some of it we're waiting on, and some of it we have to deal with regardless. We'll have to cross that bridge, I guess, when we get to it. But it didn't sound like it was going to be a huge cost. I think this is a better location. I think it opens up some opportunity to hopefully have some more open space and green space in the center of our town. And in terms of the appropriation for $6.23 million, I think the important thing to keep in mind is my understanding, is that according to the staff report, we essentially be spending that money anyway. This is costing us a little more, but if we were to build it in the same place, we'd still have to go back and appropriate additional money, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
so
correct.
In the end, it's cost us a little bit more for, I think, what will end up being a better site for the Public Works.
Alderman Pendle Charles, next.
Mayor, I do share your concerns, Alderman Gay. But I know there had been some discussion regarding some cost savings in the end, and the mayor had indicated versus putting this on Forest Drive. So that may be more palatable to you. That maybe some of that will be able to address some of our residents' concerns.
Alderman Gay?
I think I like Alderwoman Tierney's idea of looking at existing land that the city owns so that we don't have to keep going around and appraising land and buying and selling. I mean, it's crazy and it's a lot of money. I mean, look at this estimate right here. $10 million? That is a lot of money to just be, I mean, we haven't even seen the final design stage yet. They could still be editing the building correct to take away some of that cost. So why don't we just kind of wait until we see what's...
Because we can't wait until council supports this as being the option. Well, I mean, why?
So you have to have this approval. We have to vote on this tonight without any understanding really of...
We have no way right now under the current CIP that we're asking to be changed to this site to do design work at this site.
And you still, and I'll talk to you offline.
Alderman Annette. Oh, sorry.
I think that because we've procrastinated for 7 years, the costs have gone up considerably. Just because we keep waiting and there's one more horizon to look over, one more thing to turn, and in the meantime, our staff are working in really unsatisfactory conditions, and it's time to, as Alderman Payon said, to keep them in mind.
Thank you. Alderman Payon?
Thank you. How quickly could we start work on the Hudson Street site as opposed to the Spa Road site? I mean, we're talking about an overall cost difference of somewhere between $1.1 and $1.4 million. It's not insignificant, but what if we went back to Spa Road? Is that faster? Is that slower? Is that...
So it all depends on how much redesign we did for Spa Road. If we go with the design that's already completed, we've already got the special exception to build there. You know, we've already taken a lot of the steps. We had a grading permit, we had a building permit, everything was ready to go. So we could definitely move faster at Spa Road. But the cost would be higher because there are additional requirements there, the increased stormwater management costs that drive that cost up higher. If this gets approved, we're going to start the design work that Alderman Gay was asking about immediately because we need to get this thing moving forward.
Okay.
One thing that came out of the Plan Commission is they want to do a full site review for this, site design review. So that wasn't what we anticipated. We thought it would be an amendment from the site design that was approved for absolute. So we need to work through that. If that's the case, that's going to delay the process somewhat to get it permitted. But we will start work immediately on the design.
I still think the Spa Road location is more central. I think it's a better location, but we need to get going on this. And I'm, for one, would be willing to compromise and go with the Hudson Street, and I think this council should do the same. Thank you.
So it's Alderman Gay, then Alderman Savage, but we keep saying the same stuff.
So will the 3 properties at Spa Road be sold to fund this as well? Or I'm just reading here in the staff report, the east side of Spa Road, which is 8.24 acres, is appraised in 2018 at $4.6 million.
Yeah, that's the plan. So of course that's the council's prerogative to do that.
So not only are we losing, so we're moving the existing building, and now we're losing 2, this prime location for affordable housing on Spa Road, and we won't have that option anymore now?
No, we would.
No, I'm asking. I'm asking him.
Yeah, that's who we would try to sell it to. We would try and sell it to the highest bidder, basically, and for housing.
Well, that would be up to this council.
That's right.
That would be up to this council.
I guess so you just couldn't wait to sell that and get $5 million and then put towards that project? I understand the need to get this done, but I'm just trying to figure out the financing of it all, because this is a lot of money.
So there's
we just had all of these residents up here complaining about these issues. I'm trying to get a better understanding.
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. One is that we need to operate on the west side. That's where we're operating out of until we have a new place to move. So that won't be available to sell until we actually have a new place to move to. On the east side, we need to get in touch with MDE after we do the methane testing to see what treatment's going to be required for the incinerator ash that's under the ground there. So we wouldn't want to sell that until all of that's worked out. So those are the two factors that come into play for the Spa Road
So
side.
this is just possible money, is what this $5 million from the east side, and then the almost
if the council decides to move forward with the sale of that, that's what the appraisals say that property is worth.
So, okay. We could be out of $5 million is what I'm asking if it doesn't go through that way?
It's the council's decision on what they want to do with that property.
And Alderman Gay, the council could decide to donate it to something like that. It's up to this council where we go. It is an opportunity site. It has a lot of possibilities. It's an exciting opportunity that we have. Alderman Savage?
Yeah, thank you. It is a lot of money, but look at why that building was taken down in the first place, because it had mold and issues in it. The old public works building had so many problems, water damage. So, and I think a fire at one point. So it had to get taken down. Now we need to finish out these. I'm going to channel Alderwoman Finlayson here. Hi, Sheila. So the workers need to have a place, an actual building, full-time, well-built, some place for them to work and operate out of. They're scattered around the city. We're wasting money renting buildings for them, and they need a good place to work. And so this is just finishing the job we started. We have to build it somewhere, so it's going to cost us money.
Thank you, Alderman Tierney.
I just want to say, this is a vote of conscience on my part. I mean, we should be apologizing to the public, okay? My colleague, Alderman Arnett, used the word procrastination. And my simple opinion is I don't think that should be the residents' fault ultimately. You can say there's really only $2 million here that is blamed for the postponement because of the escalation. But I just wish we could say, look, we're sorry here, guys, but I don't hear that from us. And so I'm just sticking with my vote as a vote of conscience. And as I said, it enables bad behavior, and I don't think the city should continue to operate like that.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move forward on a vote. Just remember, it's not an either-or thing. All of these things are just as important as the next thing, and we're all just as conscious of them as each other. So I appreciate everyone's comments here. We have a motion and a second to adopt A-40-19 on second reader. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
As have it. Is there a motion to adopt O-40-19 on third reader?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderman Tierney?
No.
Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderman Pennell Charles?
Aye, and I'm voting for Alderwoman Finlayson too.
Oh,
Aye.
yeah.
Alderman Gay?
No, and I'm voting for Mark. No.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you for not making us wait another 7 years. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is the approval, beginning with our legislative actions first reader, added at the approval of the agenda, beginning with our 1920 Affordable Housing Task Force.
Is there a motion to adopt R-19-20? Got a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Alderman Gay, you want to?
For the Affordable Housing Task Force. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory.
Okay.
We have this issue in the city. We got to do the research to get a better understanding of what we actually have to tackle moving forward to start providing fair and affordable housing to people in the city.
Alderman Payon. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the purpose of this legislation is laudable. I'm concerned about the size of the committee here. I understand it'll be broken down into subcommittees, but I counted 44 people on this thing, and 45. Okay, I guess I forgot the chairperson, whoever that was going to be, but I don't think it's a bad idea. I just think that I don't know where these numbers came from. Why do we have 2 from this community, or 16 people here, or as opposed to why don't we have 4? Why don't we have 8? Why don't we have 1 person from each community? Why don't we have 1 person from your staff or 1 person from the council? I mean, every time this committee meets together, it's going to be a violation of the majority of housing and human welfare committee is going to be on it. And is that a violation of the
I'll let Alderman Gaze speak to that.
Yeah. One, they are concerned because we're on first reader, but but the discussion is good though. No, the reason I did that because I think it's important just to allow. I mean, if I was to say 1 from each housing authority property, I think that neighbors have differences, and I think that just by allowing 2 people from these communities to serve and share their experiences that they've had individually in those neighborhoods is better than just 1 person coming forward and speaking on behalf of 700 residents. And in regards to the staff that are here, I honestly think that it's critical that everybody here is involved in the conversation so that we don't have to go through this process of having the task force and then come back again and do another research report with transportation and then come back again and get the county involved. Or, I think just putting everybody in the room and, giving us the opportunity to go through and research and just get a better understanding of this issue would just help us, kind of get it in, get it out.
Well, you have 4 community leaders residing in the city of Annapolis. I don't even know what that means. You've got 9 community leaders here in theory. I did say in theory. I mean, how do you define a community leader? You've got 3 individuals who possess a Maryland state real estate license with a minimum of 5 active years of real estate experience. Why not 1 or 2 with, why is 5 years there?
So we just had Fred, they called the questions on first reader.
It's first reader. You're right. I'm sorry. I thought we were voting.
Okay. All those in favour, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Apologies.
Plenty of time for that. Mr. City Attorney.
I did tell you.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is 0520, City Council Meetings, Order of Business, for the purpose of modifying the order of business for regular and special meetings of the City Council.
Is there a motion? Okay, second. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Okay. Alderman Savage.
It's another first reader, FYI.
I got a question.
Oh.
My question is, oftentimes we have opportunities to recognize our citizenry on citations. Is that part of this legislation?
If it's not, I'd be happy to work on it in committee.
Oh, I think we need to add that. That is extremely important.
This is taken right from the code, so if they must not be written in the code.
It must not be, but we can add it.
Works for me.
Okay, it's good that it's on first reader. We can add all these improvements. Any other questions?
It's going to get referred.
Are we going to refer it to rules of city government? All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Legislative actions, first reader removed from the consent calendar, beginning with R1720, Annual Statement of Performance Standards.
Is there a motion to adopt R-70-20 on first reader?
Second.
Alderman Savage.
Yeah, second. I just wanted to refer it to rules, another one to rules of government.
All right.
You're welcome, Sheila.
You can never have enough rules. I always say that. No rules, just right.
Please be on Percocet.
And we'll refer it to R-70-20 for a public hearing. All those in favour say aye.
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 Wait, what?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Right. Sorry, I should have said that after we voted on it. Sorry. All those in favour of adopting R-70-20 say aye.
First reader.
It's on first reader, right?
Aye.
Okay. Aye.
Okay.
Is that confusing?
Just the nod.
And now I will say we'll also refer that to a public hearing on R-70-20. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Let me see, just making sure we're good to go. I think the agenda is complete, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anything else for good order? Alderman Paone?
I move that we adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favour say aye.
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 All right.
Get better,
Meeting
Sheila.
adjourned. You would never let him go that long. You would be like, oh,
That's a